Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Triple Intimidate. I'm your host, Pierre, and today we have a very special guest, Max Both. Oh, actually, wait, no, this guy isn't this guy on the show? We haven't seen him around for a
It's
while.
it's it's been a while, but I think I am part of the show. I can't quite remember, but I don't know. I'm here now. That's what matters, right?
We're pleased to have you, Max. Pleased to have you back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Today we also do have a very special episode in which we're gonna share a bit of gameplay. Um, Max and I have been kind of discussing some of the maybe more prevalent meta picks that we expect for this ProQuest season. And I I think that Iyslander and Fi are going to be two very prevalent heroes. Fi especially is quite an easy one to pick up, but then can also be very good if piloted well. And then of course Iyslander, we've seen at Worlds, can also take your ProQuest to a victory if done appropriately. So we'd like to showcase those two
Yeah.
heroes and maybe share a bit of tips of what we think might be good plays, etc., etc. So, Max, without further ado, why don't we get into this? We've already determined who's going to go first and done all of our sideboarding, but Max, maybe if you want to walk over that decision, I believe you had the
Yeah.
decision point there.
So I rolled higher than Pierre, and I got to choose who goes first in this matchup. I am Fi, and Pierre is Iyslander. I opted to go first. I don't love this play because Fi generally likes to play second, but against Iyslander, I'm worried that she could set up a powerful card in her arsenal first turn, such as Hypothermia or Channel Lake Frigid, and that would put me in a really tough spot. So I'm opting to go first, hopefully poke through some damage with a Phoenix Flame, and yeah, we'll just see what happens. I'm going to kick things off with a Spreading Flames, pitching a Red Razor Reflex, which don't judge my Fi deck off this. I have one copy in the whole list, and it comes in against Guardians and Iyslander. It comes in against Bravo only because it's a good play against Spinal Crush, and it comes in against Oldhim to make it harder for him to fatigue us.
So, bit of an interesting play here. I don't often see this, but like I think my play here is just gonna be to blizzard it because I'm gonna get to use all my cards in defense here. I'm pretty sure on turn one. So let's just see if I can get those resources out of him and limit what he can do this turn.
Yeah, that's an excellent play. I'm not going to pay two,
Yeah,
so
there we go. So
just going to come onto the stack.
so I spoiler alert, I've got a couple blues in hand, so I'm fine blocking with one of them, knowing that he can't really do anything more this turn to me. Oh, but he can. He
I
pushes
do,
a one damage
yeah.
thing.
I'm actually a believer that Mask of Momentum is still a fairly strong card in Fi. I think Mask of the Pouncing Lynx is more playable in certain matchups, namely matchups where the game's going to go a little bit shorter or into Iyslander, just because she makes it hard for you to hit three chain links in a row with all of her disruption. However, Ancestral Empowerment made it into the list because it pairs very well with Mask of Momentum. If you swing small, and they block the third attack to get around the Mask of Momentum, you can Ancestral Empowerment, +1, draw a card for Mask of Momentum, draw a card from Ancestral Empowerment. So it replaces itself +1 and it adds a damage. It's very powerful when it works.
So I'm gonna be a
Let's
little
see what Icelander's got for us.
I'm gonna be a little silent here going into the play, but I'll explain what I'm doing here afterwards. So I'm playing the Polar Blast, hoping I can get a resource out of him, or potentially not, in which case I can dominate my attack here. So yeah, it's early game, and I think, I mean, it would have been nice to get something into my arsenal, but I also don't mind pushing 8 damage right off the hop. Knowing that Fi's likely gonna just pass on the block. Yeah, he did. Very nice. Just whittle down his health total a little bit. May have been smart to put something in my arsenal, but I didn't have a Channel Lake or Hypothermia, so I'm kind of like, I guess I'll just push some damage this turn.
Hmm. I find that interesting. I feel like I'm all of a sudden in a powerful spot, but I guess we'll see how this plays out here. I did get lucky off the Ancestral Empowerment. I drew an Art of War. So I'm
Nice.
just going to start right off by playing it. I'm going to choose the buff and the banish as always. Hopefully he'll just let that resolve,
Yeah,
unless he's
not
playing Striders.
yeah, not much I can
So I'm
do
going to
here.
banish. I'll banish Assault the Wound from my arsenal, and then I'll lead things off with a Mounting Anger for 5 with Go Again. On hit, I get to banish a card with 0 cost from my hand, and it gets +1 damage. So hoping he doesn't have the second Blizzard here.
Yeah, that's a great card. I'm not too keen to spend 2 cards to block 6, over blocking by 1, but I do want to preserve my health total a little bit, so I will pick one of these cards to block with here. Being mindful that if he, oh, and he does have the Lava Burst. I was just going to say, if he's got a Lava Burst here, this is probably not looking good. It's an Art of War turn. He also has the Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, which is going to allow him to.
Yes. So this actually gets me a Phoenix Flame, which is awesome since I've played another red card. But I don't feel like I'm in the position to play Mask of the Pouncing Lynx this turn. I might think about it, but I would have to use Tide Flippers because I already have the Lava Burst, and you can only fetch a 2-power attack with Mask of the Pouncing Lynx. So it's generally used to fetch Salt the Wound or Lava Burst. I just banished the only Salt the Wound in my list, and I already have a Lava Burst. So unless I want to crack my Tide Flippers this early and lose my only source of Arcane Barrier, I think I'm probably better off just playing out these cards and letting Fi tank some damage.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, right? Is like Lava Burst and.
Or I meant Icelander take some damage. Sorry, go ahead, Pierre. You know what I meant.
I knew what you meant. I didn't question it. Yeah, the Lava Burst and the Salt the Wound, because they're kind of chain enders, is what Max is saying. Like, there's no point in having 2 chain enders without a source to
Yeah.
go again, right?
Oh yeah. So I guess I didn't say if you don't know the 5 cards that well, Lava Burst does not have Go Again, and it has Rupture, which means at Chain Link 4 or higher, it has +3. So it's a very powerful last attack, but I would have to break my boots to give it Go Again, and I don't want to do that
So I'm
yet.
almost kind of happy here to see that Tiger Stripes Struco has pumped this by 1. Makes me feel a little less bad about spending a 3 block on a 2 power attack, because now it's been pumped up to a 3 power. Um, as you can see, I'm trying to hold on to this card here, but 7, assuming this is the last thing he's going to push on me, isn't terrible. He doesn't have any resources floating here, so I can safely assume that he's not using Razor Reflexes. I don't know if that's a card that Max runs, but it'd be safe to assume that the Fi might. So I think I'm okay with thinking this is going to be the last thing on the chain here, so I'll just let it go through. And looks like it was. He's going to Arsenal that card, which is not great for me, but it is what it is. And then my play is going to be obviously to Arsenal this card.
Yeah, so back to me. I'm just going to start things off with a brand with Cinderclaw. This has base Go Again. It can't be turned off by hypothermia. And if he does have something like a Channel Lake Frigid, we'll see it right now. So this is kind of checking his arsenal as well as setting up for my turn.
Now I'm hesitating, just wondering. I will be playing this on this turn, most likely. Just trying to determine when the best time to do it would be. I think. So I'm comfortable blocking with this. So I think I'll let this one resolve here. And my kind of thought is for him to see that, like, maybe there's a kind of playing a mind game here. He's maybe thinking, like, what is this card? Is it a red? He's not played it. Is it, a frosting or something that he's like, oh, it's not going to really do much. So we'll let him contemplate that for a minute here.
Yeah, so when an Icelander doesn't play their arsenal first turn against a Fi when they start off with a 0 power or a 0 pitch attack, I get nervous instantly that it's a hypothermia. And hypothermia, he can play at instant speed, give it to me, and it turns off Go Again on my attacks. This namely really hurts Searing Emberblade. If I play Searing Emberblade right now, it's a hypothermia. My turn's over. It also hurts stuff like Blaze Headlong, and maybe some of. I think. Sorry, I'm just thinking. I think I want to do this, which looks crazy. Playing a blue against Icelander.
So this, if it hits, basically it's going to allow him to play his next card for cheaper, which could be good if I've played something with a frostbite, is probably why he's doing this next. And of course it comes in for 1, so that's a great value for him, because if I block with any card, it's instantly going to be less value out of it for blocking with a 2 block or a 3 block. So I think now we're...
Yeah, but
Go ahead, Max.
I was just gonna say, like, you can think of it in terms of damage, but you can also just think of it in terms of cards. Like, even though this is only 1 damage and you'd be giving up 3 cards to block it out, other Ice Vein. Ouch, that hurts.
So that's why I was kind of doing that a little bit later in the turn, for you to think maybe I've got
Yeah,
hypothermia there, so you're kind of playing
that
around
makes
it.
sense.
And now,
That's exactly what this Rising Resentment was. I was absolutely just playing around hypothermia, and now it's coming back to bite me. So that was very well played by Pierre.
so now he's only got
Um,
AB1, so I know that I'm guaranteed to get the 2 resources out of his hand to pay for the Aether Ice Vein hit effect, unless he's got some sneaky like Oasis Respite, but I'm doubtful. Phi doesn't block, so Max here thinking about what he can do after this.
yeah. So I straight up tanked the 3 damage there. I only have AB1. So if I had a blue, it works out pretty cleanly. That's why we take AB1. You can pitch a blue to AB1 and then pay 2 to the other Ice Vein on hit. Right now, I maybe don't have a blue because maybe I just played it to play around hypothermia. So I'm opting to take all 3 damage and simply discard a card.
So I'm banking on the fact that you. Oh, yeah, okay. So it didn't matter that you could banish that.
Yeah, no, I was just playing around hypothermia strictly. I wasn't trying to gain more resources. I had Blaze Headlong and Lightning Strike and that blue. So it had to be something with conditional go again, e.g. Blaze Headlong, Searing Everblade, or E Strike, or it was going to be the blue. So I was trying to bait out the hypothermia, uh, or I was just gonna straight up E Strike for 7 after that attack is what I was gonna do before he made me discard.
Yeah. So here's a
In my
little
arsenal.
value tip. So I have Waning Moon online right now, and currently these 2 ice cards in my hand block for 2. So if I lay them down in front of this Blaze Headlong, the only time I would ever want to do that is if I was like so low on life that that was my only option, but rather I would like to let that hit so that I can get 3 points of value out of my my blue 2 block here. He's got no resources floating, so he could use his Tunic resource to prevent the Arcane, but he's going to get 1 more attack. And does this get pumped by? Yeah, it gets pumped by the Tiger Stripe here. So
Because of the blue, yeah.
again, I'm more happy to Arsenal a blue here, so I'll let him hit me for 2. Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I've got some tech for Icelander. I think I have 1 copy of Energy Potion in this list here, as well as 3 red belittles, 2 blue Minnowisms, and 1 yellow belittle.
Yeah,
So I'm just trying to have a higher count of resources.
the belittle minnowism combo is really what helps you stay in the game here against Icelander. You've got lots of
Yeah,
like small tech pieces, but like I think that one just gives you such an edge. Of course, Art of War as well, but they're kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
effectively doing the same thing, right? Like cycling reds out of your
yeah.
hand, getting more blue cards into your hand. So he's
Yeah,
activated this.
belittles are very powerful.
I am gonna do the same thing as before, and I'll let him do a little bit of play to make him kind of confused as to what's in my arsenal here. Right, spreading the flames. Again, I want to probably do something like this.
So I am playing a conditional go again attack right now. So if he has a hypothermia, I'm gonna get fried for it pretty much. But we'll find out shortly. I don't have very many other options with this hand, so sometimes you have to not play around hypothermia if you're unable to, or if it's super low value to just play around it. Uh, Against a random Icelander, I probably wouldn't have played around hypothermia as hard as I did against Pierre that last round or the first round. But having played against Pierre in the past, I know he likes to hold hypothermias in his arsenal, of course, and uh, I'm not going to pay one, so your next attack is not going to game dominate because it's my turn. So
Are you sure? I heard there's like
positive.
I heard there's this errata in Flesh and Blood where you could gain action points on your opponent's turn. If like
That would be crazy.
if like
I don't know how the
Michael
priority would work there.
if Michael Hamilton pilots your hero well enough that you like, yeah, no,
Mm.
I'm just going on a stupid tangent
So
on that. So I'm gonna block a card
no,
here.
so it's like if I say Blazed Headlong for 4 go again, then you can like respond with a Wounded Bull. It's pretty crazy.
So Michael
Do I want to
Hamilton.
pay one?
Sorry, I was just gonna say Michael Hamilton at Worlds. I think he ran one copy of Hypothermia, maybe two, and in his um, in his podcast he talks about that a little bit, and he says like Hypothermia is amazing against certain heroes. Fi not so much, but you kind of want them to think that you're running all three copies, even if you're not. Um, because as Max said, like the threat of me having a hypothermia in Arsenal makes him have to play differently, right? He's gonna have to play his unconditional go agains first, which might not be as efficient as normal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually think hypothermia is fairly strong into 5 just because it can, on your Art of War turn, literally stop the entire thing right in its tracks if you have a single Blaze Headlong Searing Emberblade, or that might be it. But if you have either of those, or like Easter Egg, if you have either of those or any of those, you just lose your turn essentially. I am going to pay 1 resource, and I am choosing what I'm going to pay it with.
I hate when like the Coronet's Peak lines up with you having three counters on your tunic, because then it's just like, oh, that didn't really do much.
Yeah.
I always prefer to see a card gone, even if it's like a non-pivotal card.
So again, just starting with one of these 0 for 3 go again cards, unconditional. Check his arsenal, see if he wants to respond to it. I'm happy whether he does or he doesn't. It's either more information for me, or I just get damage, or undisrupted damage, I guess is what I mean. So we took a CNC from his hand. That's pretty good for us. I'm going to come in with a double strike now, not Draconic. It's just 1 go again. This creates 2 chain links for me if I get to play both of them out. So if he has something that's not a hypothermia in his arsenal, I'd assume we'd see it now, unless it's red. So looks like it's maybe just a hypothermia since he didn't play it. He's taking the 1. So the double strike gets banished, and I'll play it again. This time coming in for 2. Still no arsenal, so yeah, it's starting to feel either very very red Ether Ice Vein kind of thing, or maybe Wounded Bull, or just strictly hypothermia. I'm gonna take his tunic, then I'll pay for the Ironhide, walk the 2, get the value out of that first tunic resource. That's a pretty standard and solid Icelander play, is to use the first tunic resource to Ironhide Gauntlet.
Ooh,
Um, yeah, I mean, you could look to save it for a spot where Fi has something like a Snatch or a Mounting Anger or even a Soaring Strike, which I actually don't run in my list, but I know some Fis do. When he has a Sync Blow. Interesting. But it's also good to get that Tunic resource used and then back up to 3 as soon as possible, so seems like a fair play for my opponent. Ending my turn with an Arsenal unless he wants to do something first. But think about it.
So here, because of what we have in our arsenal that we didn't get to play, I think the play here is just going to be to do this and set up our future turn here. I'm a little bit sad to pitch that away, but there's a good reason for it. And then we'll pass back to him. I'm just trying to set up a few layers of disruption so that we can take the tempo and then start to go for the kill. He's at 24, so he's still way too high for me to be thinking about that quite yet, but we want to have a few layers of disruption ready when he brings us down to kind of like the 5 and below level, where it's like I'm starting to have to block more or less everything that's thrown my way.
Yeah, so I, at this point, am pretty much counting on that card either being a red or a hypothermia. And if that's the case, I think this Insidious Chill play might be a little bit on the slow side just because he's so low on life. And if I can keep threatening high amounts of damage each turn, then he is going to have trouble fusing anything on his own turn. And if he can't fuse his arsenal, then he's just going to be taking a lot of damage to get a red Ether Ice Vein fuse off, which it looks like might be happening here. Let's see if he blocks. So block 3. Unfortunately, the rest of my turn isn't awesome. It is E-Strike for 7. It's still pushing some damage to him. Still trying to play around. Like I put the Minnowism on the bottom of my deck rather than paying into Searing Emberblade and playing out the card in hand, just because I'm still scared of hypothermia, so I'm playing around it. Looks like his turn is going to just be Coronet Peak.
You know it.
Yeah. So I'm going to pay 1. Might as well cycle the cards back into my deck. What do I want to pay with is the question. I think the answer is a Lava Vein Loyalty, because that has conditional go again, and it looks crazy to sink a blue, but...
You also do have the E-Pot in a dire circumstance, which is great.
Yeah, I got my Tunic up now as well. So let's check again with the 0 for 3 go again. I'm guessing this is just going to strip a card from his hand.
Max just playing the guessing game quite well this whole round.
So
Max, you come from a meta that's pretty like Wizard and especially Iyslander dominated, eh?
yeah, there's a fair amount of Wizard. There's a fair amount of everything, but Iyslander is definitely a hero that I have some practice into, and I've piloted her a few times myself, so I know some of the tricks. So I'm in a bit of an awkward spot now. I think I have to go for the higher value play because I can't really play around it at this point, but I am expecting to get shut down right here by a hypothermia. So let's see what happens.
Boom, he nailed it.
It's a hypothermia.
Surprise, surprise.
Okay, so unfortunately that means this is the end of my turn. I only end with 1 card in hand and 1 resource floating, so I guess it could be worse. And I can pay the resource into AB1 here, take 2.
So the issue earlier is I had Hypothermia and Arsenal, I had a second one in my hand, and I had a Channel Lake in my hand. So it was like, I contemplated at the end of your turn playing out the Hypothermia to Arsenal the Channel Lake, and I think that would have been a better play, to be honest. I should have done that.
Yeah, the Coronet Peak got you some good value, though.
But like you said, like
yeah,
playing out that Insidious Chill with the Channel Lake was maybe a bit too slow for the cards that I had.
Yeah, this doesn't look terrible for you, though, so let's see what happens. But yeah, I got some spice coming at you this turn.
Might be able to turn it around here a little bit.
All I'm hoping for right now is that the card in his arsenal does not ice fuse. If it ice fuses, I feel too happy. I'm also hoping for no blizzard in his hand.
How about this one?
Channel Lake Frigid, that's actually probably worse right now than an ice fuse card, so that hurts.
Not the greatest. So I'm thinking I want to pay for it with. Hmm, I think I want to pay for it with these two so that, like, it's not ideal, but I want to keep this in my hand to get more value out of this. So yeah, I think here I will be doing this play. Pitching 2 reds for Channel Lake isn't great, but Channel Lake is also an MVP in this matchup, so
Yeah. So
making
I'm right now. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Peter.
oh, I was just saying, making your next thing cost you 2 more resources, and then everyone thereafter 1 additional.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am surprised to see the Sync Blow and E-Strike pitched, I guess, first of all. I'm looking at my energy potion and my tunic right now, and I'm thinking, is this worth popping? And another thing to note is Rising Resentment, if it does hit, would make one of my 0 cost attacks 1 cheaper. And although you can't make a 0 cost attack cheaper, it does kind of like balance out with the Channel Lake Frigid extra cost buff. My whatever my 0 for 3, my Rising Resentment, my Rodent Renegade, or some 0 cost card would be still free except for that 1 Frostbite. So I'm just counting resources right now, and it's looking like, oh yeah, and I would want to take my resources now because otherwise I'd have to pay 1 uh, through the Channel Lake Frigid to take my tunic and take my energy potion, and I'd have to pay 1 through the Frostbite as well. So I would have to take them in response to the Frostbite if I do want to take them. And it's looking like I probably don't.
So I'm thinking I'm gonna have to block this, and then there will likely be a second attack, possibly a third. So up front, I probably will just block that. He's happy to see that. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to fuse it this turn, but he is happy to see that card gone.
Yeah. So I am very happy to see the red Ether Ice Vein, but I was kind of banking on you not um I was banking on you not blocking this because I thought you would most likely want to keep Channel Lake Frigid around for another turn as well as keep an arsenal. I see now that the card's red, but I was hoping they were both blue that you had left over. I guess it makes sense that you pitched 2 reds now, but if they were both blue left over, he'd most
Yeah.
likely want to keep a blue ice to pitch to Coronet Peak to keep around Channel Lake Frigid, and then keep the other blue non-attack action for his arsenal to play on my turn. So I was banking on him not blocking here. However, he did block. I don't get to banish and get the
Additional is an additional
free or like
resource.
additional resource off. Yeah, so
Oh,
it's gonna
second
gonna
one.
look a little awkward here. Yeah, I'm just pitching into another Rising Resentment. I have to pitch 2, 1 through the Frostbite, 1 through Channel Lake Frigid. This is pretty face up the end of my turn. Um,
Yeah, so I am getting quite low in health, but unfortunately, to keep this alive, this Channel Lake, I do need to take another 3 damage here.
yeah. So I think at this point, and this is gonna look silly, but I'm doing this now because I was playing around him not blocking that Rising Resentment earlier, which I thought he probably wouldn't. But I think now is actually the time to take my energy potion to play out my arsenal. Oh wait, no, I'm trolling. I can't do that. No. My turn's over. I was just kidding. For some reason, I thought like it would cancel out because I get 2 resources and it costs 1. I was like, yeah, it works out. I'll keep my
Here's the
resource.
thing
But no,
about
I have to
basic
pay.
Here's the thing about
Yeah,
basic
yeah.
economics here. You got to spend money to make money. You got to spend resources to
Yeah.
get resources here.
That's why I was all. You should learn from my mistakes, people. At the beginning of when he played Channel Lake Frigid, I was like, we have to take it in response, otherwise it's going to cost us. And then I, instantly forgot. So, whoops.
So here's the thing in ProQuest
Yeah.
too. People are pretty sweaty. Like if you made that mistake in ProQuest and your opponent calls a judge, there might be some like unfortunate repercussions for something like that. I am a level 1 judge, so I think in that situation it would just be like a failure to maintain game state. You would get a warning because it's a competitive event, and multiple warnings stacked could result in some IP1, IP2 kind of thing. That being said, it is just a warning. If you do it once, it's not a big deal. If you do it a couple times and your opponents are calling you out on it, it will kind of snowball into something worse for you. But
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I'm not bringing Energy Potion / Fi at all to the ProQuest. Clearly, I don't know the interactions well enough. I am bringing Bravo, by the way, for anybody curious. Yeah, I feel like he has a fairly strong position in the meta. He's good into a lot of the aggro decks, although maybe not quite as consistent as I'd like. And he has a fairly strong, or I feel fairly strong in the mirror matchup with my list and against Oldhim as well. I feel good against Dory. I think my hardest matchup as Bravo is probably Iyslander, maybe Dromai if the Dromai player plays very well. So he still has Channel Lake Frigid up, so everything's going to be costing me an additional resource this turn. I am just going to start with Ronin Renegade, and I guess you'll see in a moment here why I opted to pay one from. Oh no, sorry, I I can't pay one for the Coronet Peak with my Tunic because Channel Lake Frigid is up, so that's why I paid one from hand. But even if I could have, I don't think I would have in this specific situation.
so, because the stakes aren't too high here, I'm gonna make a bit of a ballsy play here. So, I guess I probably shouldn't be telling Max this, but I'm gonna let him do his 3 damage, taking me down to 3. So I'm very much in the kill range here.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm hoping to put Pierre in a bit of a tough spot here because he first of all has to block from hand because he's only at 3 life, and second of
False.
all he's seen the red razor reflex in my hand. So I could now, since I have one floating, take my energy potion and have 2 resources and pay them both to the razor reflex red or blue if I did have it in my hand at this moment.
Hold up, I saw a red razor reflex in your hand.
Well, no, I pitched it like at the beginning of the game. I pitched a red razor. So, like generally, when I play against a Fi, I'm curious if they're running anything like Ancestral Empowerment or Razor Reflex. So I'll like look at what they're pitching and what they're playing and whatnot, just to see if it's in their deck. So I would assume now that my opponent's seen a red razor, they might play around it, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they didn't play around it. But that's another thing the energy potion synergizes with is attack reactions like Razor Reflex.
Yeah, it's a good thing you bring that up because I was like quite comfortable going down to 1 here, but now that you mention it, that might not be the smartest thing to do. So yeah, I guess at this point, because I really want to keep my hand because of what I can do on my turn, I think I'm gonna block with Tunic. I think that's
If you block with Tunic, a red razor would still kill you if I had it.
yeah, but then I can
But
still
it plays around the blue razor.
it also plays around ancestral empowerment too, because
Yeah, very true.
ancestral will kill me. So I'm just trying to like limit what can kill me here.
Actually, ancestral empowerment only targets ninja attack actions, so no
Oh
no
yeah, yeah,
ancestral on this one.
you're right. I think I just got to do
So
it.
it's
I'm in a pretty tough bind
yeah.
here.
So I would advise probably like this is good to play around the ancestral empowerment, but generally in Phi lists, blue razor reflex isn't a thing. So blocking 2 is the same as blocking 3 here. I would say mostly like sure it saves you a life, but if I had a razor reflex, it's probably not going to be blue, and then red would be enough to kill you anyways.
Well,
I don't have a razor reflex.
I just thought of something, however.
Do you want to undo?
No. I'm thinking you have 1 resource floating. To get that 2 resources potion, you need to pay 2. So that would give you 2 resources floating. With the
No,
2
I just need to
resources,
pay 1 because of channel like frigid, right?
yeah, you pay 1 to get 2. So
So
now
then I
you would,
get 2, and then I could pay
yeah,
2 to razor reflex.
yep. Then you could do it that way. Yep, that works. So luckily,
Just barely though.
luckily I'm alive here. And he
Yeah, so
Can't do anything without the action point. Great. So now I really want to do something big. And what I'm about to do here is I'm going to play the Aether Ice Vein. I'm going to pitch a red first and then pitch a blue. That way I'll keep my Channel Lake alive as well. And then I'll, of course, fuse. So pass on that. So now he's going to have to discard 2 resources off of Insidious Chill, or discard a card. And then a second time with the Aether Ice Vein, provided that it hits, which I'm almost sure it will. I'm also
yeah, so
getting...
I'm gonna have to go discard. Then I'll go. That's a very nice play. I was kind of looking at your red ice bolt in the list earlier, like I don't know about that, but this is very nice to keep the Channel Lake around.
Yeah, I love...
I guess arguably you could say, I guess, if the red ice bolt was a blue ice bolt or something, you could pitch it to Waning Moon and then you'd be getting even more value. But that's not always the case depending on the card you play. Like if you're trying to activate Coronet Peak or something, you can't activate Waning Moon after, so the red's the only way.
Mm-hmm.
For this, I'm going to AB1 and then pay 2. I'm assuming it's an Arsenal pass from him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to pop my Storm Striders, even though I have one
Yeah.
floating here.
Yeah. So I know his Arsenal's an Insidious Chill. He's probably just going to want to play that out. So I'm just going to take a simple turn, force him to block a little bit, push 4 damage through the Channel Lake. It's whatever with 2 cards. And I guess hope that he doesn't have another Ice Fuse on his next turn. Or at least that he can't pitch 3 cards to Channel Lake Frigid, because that would hurt.
So I think, again, very ballsy here. I think I will... I'm okay letting this hit because I know he's already got an Arsenal. He can't pop his Tide Flippers. I will go down to 1 if I block with a 3 block. No, it's tough. It's the only card I can really afford to block with here is... Yeah, okay. So let's do that. We'll block 3 here.
So I'm happy to see the Ice Fuse coming out of his hand, but I assume that means that he has more Ice Fuses in his hand, so it's a double-edged sword.
So yeah, we want to get this out of the arsenal to get some value out of it. Would have been nice if I could have arsenaled an Aether Hail instead, but it is what it is. Get 3 points of value.
I'm so confused. Why did I think that was an Insidious Chill in your arsenal? I thought you fused Insidious Chill with the
I fused
other
with
Ice
Frosting. I was like, I'll let him
Oh.
think it's an Insidious Chill, but that's fine.
Yeah, don't tell me. But for some reason, I read that as an Insidious Chill. Maybe I saw it somewhere else on the screen. Oh, you know what it was? I just got confused by the Talishar UI because you played Red Ether Ice Vein and then the Insidious Chill popped up next to it because it was a triggered effect. And I was like, oh, this is the Fuse card.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's not what was happening.
Okay.
Anyways, I'm happy to see that this Channel Lake Frigid is disappearing.
Yeah. Really hard to keep that alive past 3 turns, although it is possible. Max is kind of hesitant on this card in the deck list, but I really like it.
Yeah, I guess it's powerful against Fi.
Just the 0
okay,
pushing
so
3.
You fused with an Amulet of Ice. All right. Yeah, the fuse is good. It's strong against Fi. So
So
Discard or pay 2, and then 3 arcane, and then all of my stuff's frozen.
yeah, on this next turn, I'm really hoping for another fusion in hand, especially because he's getting down to the life total where if I pop Striders, I still have one Insidious Chill trigger left after this one. And that could be game if I can basically strip his hand down and then do something that will push enough damage. But
Sorry, Pierre. I need to restart this turn. Can you just play the encase again?
yep,
That's my bad. I just realized that I want to pop the energy potion. Oh no, shoot! Channeling Frigid being on board. Yeah, that's a problem.
it's not ideal.
I wanted to pop the energy potion here just to present lots of damage to him next turn, but it looks like I am gonna have to pay from hand since I still have to pay one to take my energy potion, which I keep forgetting about. I'll pay 2 with this blue in my hand,
Interesting.
and then I will use the remaining resource to AB1.
So he's starting to get a little concerned with his life totals, we can tell. Because normally he would just leak 3 damage, but when you're at 14, what were you at, 13? Yeah, 13. It's
I was at 14 because the incase came in for 3 and I AB1.
yeah, right.
AB1.
That's what I was thinking.
I do have a bit of an awkward hand though as well. However, I know your arsenal. That's helpful, but I need to be careful with how I play because Striders is absolutely an option for you.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
I'm
the
going to
problem
start
is
things
like
off.
you don't always get correct cards to pop Striders though. Okay, so that's coming in
Yeah,
for
that's true.
4. So I need to block every point of damage coming my way this turn, which is making me.
You don't have to block all of it. You could take some. Maybe one. You could take one. That'd be good.
Take 1. Yeah, you'd like that, wouldn't you?
Very much so.
So yeah, because he's doing this, and I don't have any equipment left, this puts me in a really tough bind here.
Yeah, this is again threatening the Razor Reflexor or Ancestral Empowerment this time since it's Ninja. So curious to see if he's going to opt to play around that. I think it's a really tough spot for him.
So I think though, it's a very tough spot. I think my best play is to do these 2, and then block with these 2, and then put this in my arsenal. So I'm gonna try that. See if I die. Wish me luck. So we're doing this for the Frostbite, and then we're gonna do this to remove his go again, unless he pays 2, which fairly confident he won't be doing, although this could be a good opportunity for him to pop his energy potion finally. Thankfully, I encased him.
Oh, wait a second.
What up?
I meant to. Sorry. Can you just do that again? I just need to think. Put my energy potion here.
What am I doing?
I think whatever you just played, Blizzard. I undid the
yeah.
Blizzard. Sorry about that.
Yeah, you're
Sorry
good.
about that. It's just because I was just like spam the spacebar and then I realized that I had passed priority on the Icelander Frostbite when I might want to be taking my energy potion here. So
You're so used to
let
like
me
not
think about
being able to take your energy potion because of the channel lake.
that. Now it's just because of the Frostbite.
Yeah.
Second Frostbite makes it hard to take.
So
Yeah, whatever.
effectively,
So I'm gonna give it up here. I'll lose go again
yeah. So
and take the
effectively, I'm
Frostbites.
threatening 4 resources if he wants to maintain go again and then do a second play. 2 being pitched for the Blizzard, and then another 2 for the 2 Frostbites. So I know he's not going to do anything here. However, no, I think I'm in a pretty safe spot because I think he would have to pay 3. He has to pay 4 resources to play Eraser Reflexes. So if he's got a blue in hand, I guess he could do it. He could pay some into the energy potion as well if that's required. So I might not be as safe as I think, but we'll have to see how this plays out. So unfortunately, I would love to keep these two cards in hand, but I can't. So I'm gonna have to block with these two and see if he can kill
Yeah,
me.
so it looks a little silly maybe on my part to be pitching the belittle on this turn, but and at the start of my turn cycle when I looked at my hand, I had nothing that I could reveal to go fetch Bit of Wisdom.
Hmm.
Uh, going to take Matunic.
Okay, so as he does that, man, this is a grind, hey?
Yeah, it's a
Thought I was gonna be dead
it's
a
a
while
difficult
ago.
matchup for sure. No, Icelander has a way of holding on. That Channel Frigid for 3 turns really hurt me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very close game, and it doesn't always feel like it. I'm honestly now thinking I should have used my Tide Flippers and Mask of the Pouncing Lynx when I could have cashed it in for 6 value on the second Lava Burst on that previous turn where I didn't use them both. Just because I don't feel like I'm going to get an opportunity to play it at this time in the game, now that he has an Amulet Device and an Insidious Chill Up, and we're both pretty low on life. So yeah, I'm wishing I had sacrificed my AB. I think I've saved like 2 or 3 life off it, and it hasn't been like a super high value play. So
Putting
Ice Eternal from Arsenal is scary.
I'm dumping 6 into this in a hope that I can put up enough frostbites that he can't do much on his turn, but it may not be enough here. I do still have Striders, which gives me a bit of hope. Oh, the card that would kill me.
Yeah, I had that one ready last turn. Wow, thanks for all those frostbites, bro. It's nice of you.
Yeah, I really miss Arctic Incarceration in my deck, but it wasn't performing as well as I'd like it to. It was really nice when I used to run Freezing Point, because it's like a 0 cost giving 3 additional
Oops.
damage on the Freezing Point. E-Strike. Very nice. What's the mode going to be here?
Buff power. It's just going to be strictly 7.
Yeah, strictly lethal, and that's looks like it's game here. Oh, dude!
Nice.
Hold up. This was like completely my mistake. I forgot about my Amulet of Ice. I totally should have used that.
Yeah, you probably should have cracked it there.
Yeah. Okay, well, that was
I,
a huge misplay on my. Can we redo that just to see if I
I
can
think
stay alive?
yeah. Let's see what happens if you do trigger that. Okay, so
In
what did I
in a
start off with?
tournament, of course, that
I'll
would have
start off
happened.
by taking my Tunic.
Yeah, so I then
Yeah,
responded with that, paid 6 into this, fuse this.
yeah. And then I said I'm just gonna discard.
I'm gonna put the
Okay,
trigger
so
on right
you're
away.
making this happen first.
Yeah, just so I don't forget here.
So I guess now I go energy pot before the Ice Eternal triggers, so I get the resources, then I can
Yeah.
pay 2 with it.
Yeah, so either way, you're fine.
Then I can just discard, yeah.
Yeah.
So if I didn't opt to take the, oh no, you're right, it would have been fine either way.
The thing with Energy Potion is it strictly counteracts Ice Amulet. So you're good either way.
Yeah, that's exactly what the card's there for. It's tempting to use it on offense sometimes, but it's really there to prevent an Insidious Chill or prevent an Amulet of Ice. It's like an anti-Amulet of Ice almost.
Yeah.
One-time use, prevent an Amulet of Ice.
Well, I will gain 1 life. Art of War, what is this guy doing?
Why did it let me play it? Oh, because I didn't choose to. There you go. Yeah, I Art of War in Arsenal. Didn't get an opportunity to play it out, but at the end, I was going to be able to play it like an attack reaction if I did need that extra damage.
Nice. Good game, Max.
Yeah, well played. I think that did a pretty good job of illustrating how close this matchup is, as well as what the important cards in the matchup are. Blizzard shut down my turn a couple times. Channel like Frigid shut down my turns for like 3 turns in a row and closed out like something crazy like 15, 18 points of damage for Pierre over those turn cycles. Um, as for me, it's very, very important to do as much damage as I can on Pierre's off turn. For example, that one time he didn't have an arsenal, in hindsight, I think it's absolutely worth it for me to pop Tide Flippers and Mask of the Pouncing Lynx for that additional 6 damage that I would have had off the Lava Burst. I think I just need to be threatening his life total as much as I can, as fast as I can. But yeah, this is pretty swiggy. I think it's important for Icelander to stick to the 60 cards just so they can have the highest chance of drawing Channel Lake Frigid, the most important card in the matchup. And I think I'm also just wrong when I said that playing the Insidious Chill was a little bit slow. It
I got huge value
provided
out of
a
it
lot
throughout the
of value
game.
for Pierre. Yeah, yeah. And if you hung on one more turn or something, I think you could have won out with Striders. So
Yeah, totally.
very close.
One thing is Fi in this matchup is you're going to be tempted often to play into Icelander and to swing with your what is it called? Is it a sword? Is it a
Searing
dagger?
Emberblade, yeah.
Yeah, it's a sword. You're gonna
Sword,
be
yeah. Sword,
you'll
sword.
be tempted to swing with it to get an additional 3 points of value, but often if there's an arsenal in question, you might not want to do that just because of like the hypothermia being there. It could, like, you think, oh, I'm wasting 2 resources by not swinging with this, but if you go straight to your chain engine
Yeah,
that swings in for like 4 or 5 or whatever, that might often
yeah.
be the better play. If you had an E strike in
Now,
hand, you could just buff
yeah,
it up to 7 instead, right? Or whatever.
yeah, that's fair. I would say like the one time when it's so generally when the Icelander has an arsenal and I'm suspicious it's a hypothermia, I'll just save all of my attacks like Searing Everblade, E Strike, and Blaze Headlong for as late in the turn as I possibly can. So I'll swing all of my non-conditional go agains, and then as late as I possibly can, I'll swing my Emberblade. Now, if I have 2 floating and an Icelander has a very suspicious arsenal, and I guess the way I qualify it as suspicious is if he hasn't played it or she hasn't played it in the past few turns and I haven't played an attack with conditional go again, then I'm like, okay, they're probably waiting for me to play something with conditional go again. It's probably a hypothermia. Now, if I had 2 resources floating, a lava burst in hand, and my Searing Everblade up, and I'm suspicious of the arsenal, I'm swinging Searing Everblade all of the time because it's 3 points of damage. And if I'm wrong, I just arsenal and my arsenal's empty. Then I arsenal the lava burst and pass. Now, if my arsenal's full, I'll always just play out the lava burst if I'm suspicious of Icelander's arsenal. So I think playing around hypothermia is an important part of this matchup as well. I think I do it maybe a little bit too much. I sacrificed some value on a few turns because I was sure that a card was hypothermia when in reality it was like a blue Ether Ice Vein, but you can't just ignore it for sure.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I hope that's been valuable to you as your viewers. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, and we would love to hear um, and hopefully be able to answer any of the questions you might field for us. Good luck in your pro quests. If you've attended some, hope they went well for you. And if you've got some upcoming, maybe you can use some of this gameplay in your favor. So take care for now.
Thank you guys for listening.
Absolutely. Bye.
We
I never,
nailed the sign off. That was
I never
perfect.
know how to end things.